It's 12:22 a.m. in the Vanderbilt's palatial mansion in Old New York. And you're listening to Night Call. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Night Call, a podcast for your strange days and lonely nights. I'm Molly Lambert, and here with me in Los Angeles is
Tess Lynch, and over in New York we have
Emily Yoshida. Old New York.
Old New York.
Oldie New Yorkie.
Ye old New York, as opposed to Neo Tokyo or Tokyo 3 or... We were in the middle of an argument that I feel like we should just organically let continue because Molly made us watch an American Experience documentary on PBS, like a goddamn social studies teacher in 6th grade. And we are now debating the value of said assignment.
Guys, I was dreading watching. I can't express why. Molly was like, we have to watch this PBS documentary from 2018 narrated by Oliver Platt. I can't keep it together enough. On the Gilded Age. And Emily and I think, asked why. And Molly didn't really provide an answer, but insisted that we had to do it.
Because I thought it was interesting.
She thought it was interesting. She had been tweeting about it.
I like all the PBS American Experience documentaries. I think they're the best documentary series. There's one about Walt Disney and how he built the Disney Company. Uh-huh. They're very good. Some might say a little sleepy.
A lot sleepy.
Well, I mean, it is that sleepy form. It is that silent era footage of New York City with sound effects put on of clip clop, clip clop. Oh,
the clip
papers here,
so
papers.
Much of that. And he went where he could gallop. And Carnegie was galloping his horse along the river. And it's like 45 minutes of galloping horses.
Did it please you how they said his name Carnegie?
Carnegie.
Every time.
Then the historians, the talking heads said Carnegie.
No, they also said Carnegie.
No, they did not, because I was like, I am not going to go on the podcast and say Carnegie if everyone's saying Carnegie.
Are you negging their pronunciation of Carnegie?
You guys are coming down so hard on the Gilded Age documentary.
Listen, I do not argue with the premise which I think was your intention in having us watch this documentary, that we are living in the new Gilded Age, or a new Gilded Age. That is very apparent. I think, I talked a little while ago about going to Hudson Yards and just the boom in ultra luxury construction for not even the 1%, like the 0.001% that's in New York City. I think New York City, you tend to see that on the street. And also you're walking in streets and by buildings that were built during the original Gilded Age. So you have that added element of history that you're kind of just taking in all the time, just ambiently. So I don't disagree. I think it's important to think about these parallels. American Experience, they sure do convey information. if anything, they're good at conveying information on an American Experience documentary.
I think this also came out of that I was tweeting about how I recorded a drunk history that didn't go to air because I was so interested in the boring ins and outs of details of the history itself.
What was the drunk history that you did?
It was Tammany Hall and Boss Tweed.
Tell them what you drank.
Nicki Minaj's Moscato.
Oh,
there
my
we go.
God. And then, so you vomited after.
Oh, wait, that wasn't the end of what Molly drank.
Everybody was like, why are you doing drunk history? You don't drink. That was the response I got from everybody I told I was doing it. I was like, good call. I guess we'll see. And then I tried to drink train a little bit, leading up to it. Yeah. By having a beer at night. Mm-hmm. See, because I don't usually drink very much. Just, it is not, I'm weed edge.
It's not for you.
Yeah, it's not for me. But, so I didn't know that Moscato didn't have any alcohol in it. So.
But you drank mostly that.
I drank the whole bottle.
So sugary.
Yeah.
I drank the bottle of Moscato, and then I drank a tumbler of whiskey.
Yeah, tumbler of whiskey. And then a tequila shot. Am I wrong?
Maybe. And then I was now I have to just not throw up on myself. But I learned something about myself, which is my desire to be on television was not as great as my desire to not throw up on myself on television, because I was I don't want to be that person in the commercial reel that's just vomiting.
I think that is the real difficulty of doing drunk history. I
Tess
love doing
is
drunk
great
history.
at drunk history.
It's
Tess
my
is a
favorite
pro.
thing. Thank you.
Tess.
I love it. I love to do it, but I have never not been afraid of throwing up. But I also, the first time I did it, I was a little bit more devil may care in my drinking. And then in subsequent turns, I was like, okay, I know what I can drink and my limits. And they have, medical staff there, which is nice.
Do you also like the sort of Lisa Simpsoniness of like being given a history lesson that you have to learn?
Oh, I love it.
Okay,
that's why I love it so much.
Bring that to the Gilded Age.
Okay. Yeah. Here's my thing about the Gilded Age. So I will just say right off the bat, I tried 3 different times to finish this documentary and failed. But I did get pretty deep into it.
But I like how none of us got to the part where then they figure out how to fight back and like it becomes the progressive era.
Right.
I got through Henry George running for what?
Henry George.
Or
what
something?
a cool guy.
Yeah.
Henry George is cool.
Tell me who doesn't know.
Okay. Well, the thing I liked about this Gilded Age documentary was it was like the beginning of
clip clop.
I also like the clip clop. I believe just that it was like about the industrial age being the beginning of like the partnership between politics and industry.
Right.
Of like businesses buying off politicians. And it's like, oh, this is something that like the history of it isn't even that old, actually, And like people already got super mad about it once.
Yeah.
And forced it to be reformed. But it just seemed so much like tech stuff. It was so much like
there's a lot. Yeah,
some
definitely.
idiot like put his money in old timey Bitcoin and like became a billionaire, and then everybody else put their money in old timey Bitcoin and went broke, and they were like, "Oh, you must not have wanted it badly enough."
Right.
Right. I mean, I think there were a couple interesting things that I remember from the first part of it, which was like going into Andrew Carnegie's origin. And how he really did come from nothing in Scotland, was poor and, just had a, good business acumen and noticed that people were going to be needing steel a lot in the next century. And so got into that business, which is like fine, and was literally a self-made man. But the degree to which that became the story that everybody else wanted to tell about themselves, regardless of whether or not that was their actual story, I think that created this like kind of toxic myth of like American capitalism.
Yes, yeah. It's like the toxic individualism, which is like each person is a business that will like learn to succeed, and it's to stop you from.
If you don't succeed, it's just that you didn't have the will.
Right.
Well, and also like I think the other interesting thing that was noted by somebody on there is that this was a time when the ratio of people who were employees, like people who just depended on other people for an income, became so huge, per capita. In a way that had never been before. And we just kind of take for granted now that that's how everybody's an employee mostly, unless they're a freelancer. But
I really liked that article. It was the article from The All that somebody put in my timeline about Pixar movies being a theory of labor about Pixar movies.
Oh, I saw that. I mean, The All, it's interesting how often...
It made me miss The All.
This year, I feel like I've come across so many things from The All that have been so timely. I miss The All more than any other website.
But yeah, it was kind of about like how Pixar movies are all about like getting a job, keeping that job. Mm-hmm. Emily, you hate Pixar movies, right?
Yeah, your job is your identity. And in the case of a Brad Bird movie, you're
the best, and nobody else can do it, and you can do it.
If you're the best, then you deserve everything.
You become the Uber rat.
Yeah.
The Uber rat who stirs the soup. While we're on the subject of animation, I'm gonna let you guys free of the Gilded Age. You're free.
We're not free of the Gilded Age is the thing,
You acted like you had more to say.
We're not free of... Yeah, but...
I'm going to loop back just really quickly to say that I found an article refuting that we can say that we are uniquely in a second Gilded Age. It was on Vox. But they,
Oh, I thought you said Fox.
No, Vox.
Yeah, but also
please. I'm not that guy. But people have been calling the current time.
Did
the
Vox
Gilded
recognize
Age.
their union?
Oh God, please! I know. I mean, that's the other.
Maybe that's why they're like, it's not a Gilded Age. Everything's fine.
Everything's
Just know
fine.
they did recognize the union.
Good on them.
Yay!
Yeah.
Now BuzzFeed.
Yeah, Buzz. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I've
No,
been
BuzzFeed's
following
a
that.
I
nightmare.
think it is funny to be like, I feel like we've all done jokes about being like coal miners and steel workers, but it
Yes.
is like we
But
are
look,
the steel workers in
What about
the mills
I'm
of content.
looking at my printed out notes, but the junk bonds of the 80s, the internet bubbles of the 90s, the collateralized debt obligation oddies to the top 1%, 2010s. It's like there is.
Oh,
like,
we've
I think
always
we've
been
always
in it.
been in the
Oh,
Gilded
that
Age.
makes sense.
That's
yeah.
you can't say that like right now we're more uniquely in a Gilded Age.
I
than
think
we've
the
been
stratification
since the
of
Gilded
wealth
Age.
is the one thing there's always been some kind of bubble going on in any given decade, something that is gilded in either economically or culturally or something else. But I think that the thing that makes now feel particularly analogous to the Gilded Age is the disparity in wealth, like the extremes. Like we're not talking about mere billionaires anymore.
There's no middle class.
Yeah.
Right.
But I agree that maybe the idea that like I felt like a lot of the American ideals were established in the Gilded Age that are all bad things we should stop doing.
No disagreement there. But I mean, I also think of like American Psycho and Bonfire of the Vanities, like New York in the 80s as being like prime
The worst.
Gilded Age 2.0. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, let's
the
watch
worst.
Wall Street, which I've never seen.
Oh, done. Done and done. Okay, now we can let go of this.
Well, on the subject of animation, I
Yes.
just wanted to briefly do a Emily's anime podcast. Mini podcast.
Well, I have bad news for everybody, which is that I haven't I watched 15 minutes of the new Netflix HD remaster of Neon Genesis Evangelion, which came out on Friday the 21st of June. I was excited I was already in the middle of a rewatch of it, so I was like, oh, I'll just continue watching it on Netflix, which is
I love
easier
that.
than like fill in the blank crappy illegal anime stream site that I have been using. But then I started to see just some rumblings online from people who I guess like bravely forged through and binged it within 24 hours of it being on Netflix, because this was all happening like that Friday. Just about some of the stuff that they did to the storyline and some of the characters and some of like questionable retranslations, because so they did a new dub, which is fine. I don't care. I don't watch the dub. I know that like people like the original dub of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I am not one of those people who have really watched it all the way. I mean, I've watched a little bit of it. It's fine. I really love the voice actors in the Japanese one, so I prefer that. So people didn't like the new dub. That didn't affect me. I was going to watch it anyway. But then I think a lot of this translation, I think there are parts where they did try to make it more natural, but then there are parts where they like, I don't know, tried to eliminate some gay subtext with some characters and other little things that seemed sort of unnecessary and weird and questionable. So I was just like, I'm just going to keep watching it on my shitty streaming site. So that is but then I said that, I tweeted that, and then like people were DMing me like, send me the link, like what are you watching? But I'm always happy to introduce people to that show, because it's like the Gilded Age. It's something that makes you think a lot about now and get real depressed. So yeah.
All right. I saw
that's that.
tweet I really liked that was somebody doing a joke about Hank Hill from King of the Hill pronouncing Neon Genesis Evangelion just like over and over again.
Well, also the other main like imprint it made on American culture was in the movie 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams, where he like stops some kid in the toy aisle who's buying an Evangelion like action figure. And says, "Oh
Wow,
Neon Genesis Evangelion."
Wow. I remember that because that movie is awesome.
you guys have both seen 1 Hour Photo?
Are you
I saw it in
kidding?
theaters. Oh my god!
I saw it
Are
in
you kidding?
theaters. I have seen it twice since.
What?
It's
I don't think I would
it's-
ever watch it again. But
It is a very disturbing movie, so of course I
Well,
had
it's
to watch
Mark
it 3
Romanek,
times.
right?
Yep.
yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, and also like scary Robin Williams. Just
Gary
seems-
Robin
Robin
Williams is
Williams.
the scariest.
Yep.
Like, oy.
I force other people to watch that movie, and then I'm always kind of shamed for it. But I feel it's an intense movie. Got to see the intense movies. Speaking of which, Molly and I will be seeing an intense movie this evening to report on next week, Midsummer.
Yeehaw.
I'm so excited.
It's so good.
Yeehaw.
As the Swedes say.
Yeehaw. The bone spikes, guys, that we talked about last week.
Yes, bone spikes update.
Important update. So in the days following the initial reporting on the spikes that were growing at the back of our skulls because we look at our phones too much, that was reported, we cited the BBC article, I think. The New York Times and others, I think, including Gizmodo, interviewed some people, some doctors who cast some doubt on the original study. When the New York Times weighed in, they said that they interviewed a doctor who said that his issues with the study were that the people who had the bone spikes who were being kind of studied were already complaining of neck pain. There was no control group. It wasn't like they were contrasting people who were using their phones a lot to people who weren't. It was like is not a scientifically sound study. And also, the way that it was framed as like we're growing scary spikes on our heads is not really what's going on.
You guys are so chill about this.
I'm chill about it now.
Because
I argued it, initially I was like, so what? Now we're getting, our bodies are adapting
but also they've been adapting
stable.
to anything we've ever done as humans where we're
looking
down. Like if we're doing needlepoint, we're probably getting
exactly.
Like that was
reading
a book.
You guys are like, oh, it's a knitter's hump. It's fine. No, it's not fine.
I mean, before that, it would have been like a wheat thrashing.
Those are
thrashing.
all better ways to get a neck spike.
Why?
Than looking at your phone.
You're just looking down. It's a looking down
It's
spike.
not
Your
like
head
it's
is
coming
down.
at you from like, it's not like it's growing because of like radiation from your phone or something. Like brain cancer from your phone is more of a concern, I would say, than the bone spike.
Well,
from
there's
your
a
phone.
lot
Yes.
of things about that at the UFO conference. That
Oh,
we'll get
really?
To later.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about that.
Oh, boy. Well, I mean, yeah, Liz Lopato, my former co-host at Verge ESP, who's the science editor at The Verge, she was tweeting about this also, just like, this is not a new phenomenon. This is like a thing that people have known about, except now they can also correlate it to phone use, supposedly. But also, as you say, like, this study was not the most thorough thing in the world. This is also the thing. This is what I was talking about with live science. Like, and I guess it's sort of ironic that the sources this time are like the BBC and Washington Post and stuff like that, like the people who reported on it. But looking at a study and not being able to look at it critically, not saying that I could, I'm not that kind of reporter, but a lot of people don't when they report these freaky sounding studies.
That's why live science is the only outlet we trust here at Night Call.
Hey, speaking of live science, you guys, we got a really good live science tidbit, which is the sea worm with butt eyes.
Yes.
So our favorite factually sound website, Live Science, reported on a new species of sea worm discovered off the coast of Scotland this month, and it has eyes on its butt. Its name is the Amphiorete give me a minute. Oculocerata. Oculocerata. It's about as wide as a pencil eraser. It has tentacles by its mouth, as many sea worms do. But unlike other sea worms, it has eyes on its butt.
Do you think like the worm ever wears a shirt that's like, my eyes are down here? I hope so.
Nice one.
It's very transparent looking also.
Yeah, it's cute.
I don't know if cute's the word I would use.
Well, it's also like what
It's interesting.
I was going to say what qualifies a butt, but then I thought about it for like 1 second.
You know what qualifies a butt.
You know what a butt is.
No.
The things that worm has seen.
Well, we should take a night call because we've had one for a couple weeks that we wanted to be able to spend some time talking about. So let's bring it up.
So I've heard that some scientists have made mechanical and digital, basically probability machines that measure just the randomness generated in an area, and have found that in certain areas the probability actually changes. Things become less random. So I listened to a podcast once that talked about how on a wavelength function, the possibility of something quantum tunneling can be pretty much measured. And it isn't just from the micro scale or quantum scale, but theoretically scales up to the macro scale, human-sized. So I've always had a conspiracy theory related to the disappearances that they've seen at national parks. I always wondered if there was some possibility that the probability of randomness in these parks are a little bit more possible. And as a result, people are accidentally quantum tunneling into parallel universes or, just 100 feet underground. Given that there's a possibility for it, it's a non-zero sum. That means theoretically it can happen. Not super likely, but a non-zero amount. So, I just want to see what you guys thought about that. Look forward to hearing more from your podcast. Thank you.
Let's just call it Quantum Leap.
Well, thank you very much for that call. Really gave us something to think about and do our own research on. I did not know about these disappearances, but there have been something like 1,100 in, let me look at,
There's an article at Vice from 2017 that cites the Outside magazine number as 1,600.
Yeah, 1,600 within the history of the parks.
It's complicated, but there have been, let's say, like over 1,000 disappearances on national park lands, but it becomes more complicated because there is a conspiracy theorist who is collecting some data that is then being used. So,
right. Yeah. I think that is it David Paulides?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. So I had no idea about this. I think that there's a How Stuff Works article about this. But the quantum randomness thing is interesting. I mean, I don't know that much about like how quantum randomness works, but I would think it would be sort of interesting to think about that being more likely in a place like a national park that's been preserved, that where there's not as much human activity.
I'll tell you what I like about this theory. First of all, I don't believe in it.
Sure.
I want to say that.
Yes.
I don't believe in it. I think people disappear in national parks because they're so big. People disappear in Angeles Forest near me all the time because it's giant. I mean, it's also amazing and awesome that there are places that are like...
that you can disappear.
So,
yeah.
And that they're so close to, other things. But I like this theory because it is like a picnic at Hanging Rock theory.
Well, I like the idea. It feels very Twin Peaks to just be like suddenly, like boink, you're underground. You're 9 feet underground. You're there, and it's like just a clean jump down to this other reality.
It's weird because it is a popular conspiracy theory as far as I can tell in this very niche circle of
it's new
David
to me.
Paulides fans. I mean, well, first of all, when we got this call, we intended to answer it last week, but I think quantum randomness, it breaks my brain. And I'm sure that that's not a totally uncommon feeling when you're trying to understand quantum physics.
I think a lot of really advanced science...
it's so intimidating.
Theory.
Yes, exactly.
But it's also like some of it sounds so insane that you're like, how is that real? It's that's what's so cool about it.
It's when you start thinking about quantum randomness as having to do with subatomic particles, all of a sudden your brain kind of walks out the door, and doesn't want to hear any more about that.
No, our brains want to hear more. We just want someone who really understands it to explain it. Guys, what if I find a great PBS documentary about it?
Or you could go to askamathematician.com if you wanted to learn a little bit about it.
Or you could read like a Brian Greene book or something.
You could.
Which I did and have since lost like all that information. But
I mean, it's hard to retain because you can't apply it to many things until you come across the articles about disappearing in national parks.
The problem with quantum mechanics is that it's only like, the evidence of it working at anything above that subatomic level is very small. Like there's not a lot of information about that. So, but trying to find the link is
Right, because if
is
it
the
were real,
thing.
we would have Star Trek holodecks by now.
Exactly. I mean, I think what was interesting about this call and then kind of looking into the theories that go along with it are there are these people who are like fervently certain that this, there are wormholes in national parks, and I'm very interested in the fact that those people believe this because it's not, why not? Why not entertain it? But the guy, David Paulides, he writes a series of books called Missing 411, and he's a cryptozoologist, our fave, who claims to have an investigative and law enforcement background, but that's hard to verify. But the National Park Service doesn't keep track of people who go missing, and it's something that has been, frustrating even to sort of realistic
Regular law
skeptics.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
you know what I just realized?
What?
It's the 20-year anniversary of the Blair Witch Project.
Today?
Just now, in like general.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
I feel like that is one of the scariest things, is the idea that you go in nature and just disappear.
And just get lost.
On this blog post that I found about Paulides and all this theory in general, he apparently went on Coast to Coast AM to talk about this.
Of course.
I think that when would this have been? This post is from 2015, so sometime around then. And it says, in his books and in interviews, Paulides does give some possible reasons for the disappearances. On a recent appearance on the radio show Coast to Coast AM, Paulides listed some ideas, such as Sasquatch, large birds, and extraterrestrials. But he also mentioned demons as a possible cause, which goes along with the belief in the Philippines that the jinn or demons are responsible for abductions. So there's just a wealth of possibilities here, ranging from quantum randomness to demons. So whatever
feel
your
like
favorite flavor is.
Well, there's that, I think it's an Arthur C. Clarke quote that's like, any significantly advanced science
Technology
is indistinguishable
from magic.
technology indistinguishable from magic. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff. That's what's so cool about it, is you're like, it's magic, and maybe it's possible.
real.
I think about that quote all the time. And I always think about like
too.
what right now feels, because it always is changing, of course, like what feels like magic versus what feels totally mundane and explainable at this point. Like, there was a time when iPhones felt like magic, and now whatever, they're like sources of stress and
I always
sources
thought they
of
were
horns, sources of skull horns, and but what feels magic to you guys right now, technology wise?
We talked about the star holograms before, and I've generally been against them, but I just saw a flyer for a Dio hologram. And I was like, maybe that's fine. Maybe that's
Holograms
good.
seem retro to me.
Yeah.
They don't seem, there's nothing futuristic
It's just
seeming.
Pepper's ghost.
What's futuristic? You're right.
I don't know. It's hard. I feel like right now, just because of the overwhelming depressive news, that it's so relentless, it's really hard to find things that inspire the kind of, ooh, magic.
Amazing.
Like, I just don't see those things anymore. And it's kind of lame. I remember, like, back in, I don't even know, 2012 or something, I got sent as a sponsorship, like, content to review for Grantland, this thing that you plugged, like, a USB port that would make a bacon smell. And I was like, wow. Wow.
The future.
How cool.
That is cool.
And then there was, popularized a while ago for a brief moment, the magic berries that you eat, and they make things taste different. Like, those things seem magical. But beyond that, there's not much. Like, right now, I just look around, I'm like, everything's just
was
not
it just
magic at all.
bacon?
This was a branded bacon USB thing.
I wish that
I feel
there was
like USB smells, yeah.
Oh, well, I wish there was a thing where you could like transmit smells with like a little widget or something on your phone. Like you could.
That's a big casino thing, and I do feel like there's so many opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, the response that you get to a smell. I mean, maybe what we're missing now is people taking advantage of more kind of tactile or like sensual feelings.
DJ Dodger Stadium, who are now known as DJ DS, because Dodger Stadium, has a litigious team.
Yes.
They made an incense.
I didn't know that's why that happened. That's
Yeah.
Of
They
course.
made-
Super litigious.
They made an incense that's really good.
What is it?
It smells. It's like it just smells like fresh. It's very
Incense is hard because most incense just smells like incense.
yes.
You
and
know,
that
no
makes me-
matter the
right,
flavor.
it makes me nostalgic for a specific thing. This is a good. It smells very good. I like it.
I think we
What
should
should
have
the night call smell be?
If there's any listeners right now who are like super smellers or work in the fragrance industry, I would love to have somebody come on the podcast because I have so many questions. I was waiting in line to pick up a package at the drugstore because I pick up packages at a place that does 10 things in addition to packages because that's New York, baby. And they also sell like discount perfumes. So there was they had all of the old like Justin Bieber fragrances. Like there was a Justin Bieber fragrance called Justin Bieber's Girlfriend that from like maybe 2013 or something. I can't remember. Maybe it was earlier than that.
Back when magic existed.
Yeah, but I'm like, I always think about those celebrity fragrances and like, casino fragrances and like how fragrances mean, I guess.
we should definitely think about what the night call fragrance would be.
Yeah. Well, somehow we got to fragrances from disappearances at the park.
I have a segue, which is that there was a perfume at the UFO convention.
Oh, yes.
That was supposed to smell like an alien abduction.
What did it smell like?
Well, I didn't smell it, but my friend has bought it because apparently it was the guy told her that they made one based on people's recollections of what the abduction smelled like.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they made the first batch, it smelled so bad.
I mean, you would imagine it wouldn't smell good.
They made a secondary batch. She says it does not smell good per se.
Yeah.
But maybe it is accurate.
Is it called OFO? I'm sorry. I have so many puns today. It's insane. Well, Molly, you went to AlienCon in Los Angeles this past weekend, which I am so jealous about, which is, it seems like half science-y and then half kind of like freestyle, which is a good combo.
Yes.
I was a little worried because when I walked in, I saw that it had some real sponsors. I thought, I hope this is still a bunch of weirdos. And boy, was it. It was all weirdos. It's put on by the History Channel was a big sponsor.
Okay.
And so there were people from Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Ancient Aliens programming.
I
on
do
the schedule.
want to express, I do not believe in Ancient Aliens.
But they're so fun. It's like
No,
the
but
most
here's
fun.
what is they're bad. They're bad.
Tell us more.
Here's why the Ancient Aliens are bad. Okay. Because it's always just like some non-Western civilization made some amazing thing and they're like, oh, how did they make the pyramids? We don't know, therefore aliens. Mm-hmm. It's all ancient Egyptian stuff, like Mayan temples, literally anything that wasn't made by like Europeans. They're like aliens, only explanation.
Right.
That's
true.
why it's bad.
Okay, that's fair.
That's very fair.
But it was a lot of like, there was like Ancient Aliens themed rock music. Somebody had an album.
Really?
There was a lot of like CBD stuff.
Yeah, that was a weird overlap. The Venn diagram of
Yeah.
the UFOs and the CBDs. Where does that
CBD
come from?
is the incense of now. It's like the Nag
Yes.
Champa of the 2010s.
I think it was like a CBD energy drink.
Sure.
That seems oxymoronic.
Maybe it was
Doesn't
a
it?
sleepy drink.
Yeah, sleepy drink.
like dream water.
And there were some like YA and fantasy novels for sale also about aliens,
Well,
people
that makes
interacting with
sense.
aliens.
Yeah. That sounds so fun. Wait, what did
it
you
was
see? Like,
super
what did you
fun.
go to any panels or anything like that?
I saw the end of a panel that my friend Anne was interested in that was about something called Nightcrawler Ranch.
What's that?
No, it's not Nightcrawler, it's Skinwalker.
That's where
Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch, which
Is it
is a site
sounds like
in
a
Utah.
porn studio for
Yeah. Well,
Ranch.
I think it's a joke on Skywalker Ranch, but it's a part of Utah that apparently there are a lot of Native American legends about there being skinwalkers there. But then it was also a big Navy or something site.
What is a skinwalker?
What is a skinwalker?
I'm sorry. I'm uninitiated into the
well,
skinwalker
that was
thing.
because you may remember you refused to be involved in the X-Files fandom with me.
I had better things to do during my free
You
period.
would have obviously known.
I left for the juggling club.
Oh my God.
A skinwalker is a Navajo concept for a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal.
It's like a shapeshifter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a shapeshifter.
Nice.
It's super cool.
It's like a warg in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and I think it's usually like it tends to be a coyote.
Huh.
Which I like because I feel like coyotes appear at weird times.
They
the
do.
idea that coyotes are, but then this is wrapped up with alien stuff. I think because there's also kind of like mysterious government, Air Force type stuff in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So there's these guys who do something where they like go with ghost machines or something to the area.
Uh-huh.
They were all wearing a
Checks
lot of
out.
Indiana
Good.
Jones hats. But yeah, mostly the action was in the hall, the hall where you could see.
This was at the convention center.
It was at the convention center.
Very strange place, the convention
A
center.
super strange place, and the arena was only like the thing itself. They had only filled up about half
like
the
half
space
of it,
with
yeah.
booths,
Mm-hmm.
which was great because the last time I went to a convention, it was the anime convention. I went to the anime convention there twice, and the first time it was fun, and the second time it was like so crowded it was not fun. You know,
Yeah.
it was like impossible to move, and this was like a chill ass convention. You know, there were some people. There was one woman dressed as the three-breasted alien from Total Recall.
Totally. Yeah, I saw
Nice.
they had a cosplay competition there.
Yeah,
Which
there were
is-
some
yeah.
just like lowbrow art stuff, like your kind of classic LA garbage art, where it's like Illuminati pyramid and Elvis and aliens also. But yeah, I recommend AlienCon.
They're going to be in Dallas this fall. They're doing
Yeah.
an AlienCon in Dallas. Maybe we should
There
go.
were also like, yeah, they also had like tarot readers, you know, and it was just like it was fun. I learned a
How
lot.
seriously did it take itself?
I mean, I didn't get in any conversations with anybody about it.
This
so
is what I
don't
would want to know because looking at it, it seemed as though it was a very lighthearted.
It was lighthearted. It was
Yeah.
like a Hollywood alien convention. It was like also, you know, Star Trek stuff and like
Right.
Star Wars stuff. There was one really weird thing that I was interested in that seemed like something Emily would love called the Ark. That was like, it was just like a triangular pyramid kind of thing that you sit in, and it just was like ascend.
and that's it.
It said
Did it make
Was
you?
it a
Did it
sound
go up and
bath?
down like a tiny little?
I don't know.
elevator?
It said experience coherence. It's like
I can't believe you didn't do this.
it's like it's like a tent with no fabric on it. It's
Okay.
just like the outline of a tent,
just
but it's
the,
like a little
the wires or
pyramid.
something? Okay.
Yeah, and you sit in it, and it says "Discover Vitality."
Were they selling something?
Yeah, but I don't know what. That was the thing too, is I like couldn't figure it out at all.
Sounds like the perfect brand activation.
Yeah,
You do
It
not
was
know what
like-
it's for.
It didn't know what it was for. I didn't know what you were supposed to do with it, but it was just like discover vitality.
Did you see William Shatner there?
No.
He's like the big celebrity that they were like promoting there, which
Advertising.
really tells you everything you need to know, I feel like. But
Yeah, I mean, in terms of sci-fi conventions, it was very chill. It was like, you know, there were kids. It was like a relaxed cosplay atmosphere.
that sounds great.
Yeah, it was great. So I will definitely go back, and we should definitely all go.
Yeah.
And I got you guys something that I will present you with at the next live show.
Oh, hooray!
Boy, okay. Who would suspense?
Guys, I think that we would be really neglecting our duty as official science reporters if we didn't briefly discuss the fox-like cat or cat-like fox, depending on how you're feeling, that was discovered in Corsica.
I love this thing. However you might feel about the buttworm,
The eye butt worm.
the eye buttworm, I think everyone can agree that the cat fox,
Is
cutest idea.
cute?
What is the deal with the cat fox exactly?
They found this cat. It's a fox. It's a fox that looks like a cat.
It's a fox that looks like a cat, and it has little pointy teeth and
Yeah.
a grumpy disposition, they
yeah,
say.
and it's a new species.
I'm
That has
watching this video right now. It's a new species. It's not just a fox that happened to come out looking like a cat.
Yeah, they say it's like an ancient wildcat, possibly.
Okay.
But it is a
And
heretofore.
there's 16 of them in Corsica.
Yes. Although the first cat foxes were captured in 2016, non-violently, rangers say secondhand tales of the forest animal have circulated around the island for generations.
They're very cute.
They're so cute. They're a Pikachu.
Yeah.
Are they like Eevees, kind of?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wait, can I ask you guys a question real quick?
Oh,
Yeah.
What would you shapeshift into if you were a shapeshifter? What animal?
Dang, that's a good one.
I have to say, I don't. It's probably a fox. Not to be like too on the nose, but like nothing looks cozier than a fox in hibernation. Like it just seems like the nicest place to be and like creature to be. Yeah, any hibernating animal seems chill.
I'd be a whale.
A whale.
I would. I'd be a whale.
Go on. What kind?
It's just any kind of whale. I'm dying to be a whale, to be honest. I mean, other than the threat to whales, the idea of experiencing like pretty much the opposite life of my life. I'm in a different realm. I'm in the sea, but I'm
time
smart.
differently. I'm sure.
Yeah, you experience time differently. You get to live for a super long time. I'd be really bummed if I shapeshifted into something like a mayfly and then it was just over for me.
Right.
I couldn't go back. I died. You know, I just picked
What
the
if it's
wrong
like quantum
thing.
shapeshifting?
Quantum
you just get to keep
shapeshifting.
going each time.
I'd still want to be a whale. I'm very interested in how whales communicate. I like their family structure. I'm into it.
That's a great
I don't even
answer.
think, I think it would be like
Great
living my life
answer.
similarly to now, but under the sea. What about you, Molly?
I mean, I was going to say red panda, but now I'm thinking about the ocean again.
Yeah, you
so-
you open it up and you're like, wait a second. Yep.
Yeah, I have always wanted to live under the sea. Maybe I'll be the buttworm. Newly discovered.
Newly discovered Molly Buttworm.
Ancient. So we were going to take a night call. I don't want to be the buttworm, but I do respect all the creatures, including the buttworm.
That was a quick reversal.
Yeah, we got a call about going off of our conversation about alternate housing. So let's cue it up.
So I was listening to your recent episode about where you mentioned the Florida dome houses, and you should look up the island where I grew up. Sullivan's Island has some crazy houses. A guy, he built one for himself, and I think the other one was for his son or daughter, but they're supposedly hurricane-proof concrete dome houses. They're pretty crazy looking. Everyone calls them the egg houses. Those are cool, and because it's right off of where all the Civil War started and all that bullshit, and there's forts, there's old, like, battery hills, bunkers, sort of, that the government sold off, so people own them and live in them, or will, like, there's one that has, like, a trailer plunked on top, and then this 10,000 square foot giant open bunker. It's basically just a hill that is underneath. I don't know what's going on in all of them. One was a guy who was in a death metal band and gave guitar lessons from it, and I went on a tour with him, and it was incredibly scary because I didn't know the guy. Come see my bunker. 16-year-old girls make very bad decisions. But crazy houses there. It's Sullivan's Island, South Carolina. The island is basically a sand dune, so all that stuff's going to be gone real soon, I'm sure. But check them out. Nice.
This is Sullivan's Island in South Carolina?
Yeah. It's a bummer that all these weird, goofy architectural experiments are all in places that are going to be gone because of global warming.
I know.
Like,
Well, this one should be destroyed.
you hate it?
No, it's evil and haunted. It was like the...
Which one? Wait, there's several, but are you talking about the Eye of the Storm?
Which Sullivan's Island are we talking about? The one in...
South
In Charleston.
Carolina.
In Charleston.
Charleston.
Yeah. This is a bad place. It was like the place they brought all the slaves to.
Oh, wow.
It was described as like the Ellis Island of slavery. It was like...
Wait, what? This one was built in like 1992.
Yeah. It's like an egg. It looks like an egg.
It looks
like
like
a
this.
UFO.
What am I talking about?
I don't know.
It's just a house.
No, there's
they have
like
several.
I think there are several, but I think they were built in like the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Well, that is what Sullivan's Island is originally.
Yeah. This Sullivan's Island may have like a terrible history, but these houses are dope, I must say. Because I'm looking at one there. Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to live in it, and it's very they're I guess like over they're super, super, super heavy. There's an article, CNBC had an article from 2018. Take a look inside Charleston's weirdest mansion. It's $5 million and it's hurricane proof.
Yeah. That's the
which
whole
will
thing.
not help when it's underwater.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's beside the point.
I like looked up Sullivan's Island because they went there on Southern Charm.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is the Bravo show that takes place in Charleston, and they portrayed it as like just a beautiful vacation place to hang out. And then I looked it up and found out it had all this slavery history that they didn't get into at all on the show. So probably that's a lot of the South.
It is a lot of the South.
Yeah. I
but
mean,
the
I don't know
eye of
about
the
I don't know
storm
about
house.
like living in a Civil War bunker. Like that's
Yeah.
not I don't know if that's a lifestyle I necessarily would be into. But
That's not what I want. I saw some super weird Civil War, I think, era forts and stuff in Florida that were really crazy and weird. But I don't think anybody lived in them. They were just in a national park.
The Eye of the Storm has an elevator and a bank vault room. And
it's like the one that looks like an air traffic control,
yeah,
right? Is
it's
that what
the
you're
one.
talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. It looks like a mushroom, kind of like a giant marshmallow.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of because there's another thing on Sullivan's Island that looks like an air traffic control tower. That I think must be a lighthouse.
Did you
But
guys
it could-
see that article that was about all the people who built their dream houses, all the boomers who built their dream houses that they can't sell now because they're so giant and expensive and weird?
I did read that. Well, I have like a real bone to pick about McMansions, as everyone, I think, many people in LA have. I mean, talk about the Gilded Age, and that was actually like my favorite part of the documentary was who was it? A Vanderbilt? And she made her like ostentatious mansion with the sculptures. And I was like, isn't it funny how you're like, wow, I'm being so crazy. And, everyone will be so offended by the nudity. And it's like, maybe people are just offended at how grossly rich you are when everyone else is poor.
Maybe you just have bad taste.
Yeah.
Like,
But it's really,
that.
I mean, it is interesting to see these like weird custom houses that are so gigantic and tailored to one person's particular taste.
Well-
And it's like, yeah, you can't move those things.
One developer, who I won't name so we don't get sued on the podcast, who's a big LA developer, just got in trouble because he like put an illegal third story on his mansion to try and make it the biggest one ever.
Yeah.
And then he got in trouble and he had to do community service, and he sent his bodyguard to do the community
No,
service.
get out.
But they were like, you can't build a third story on this house because it will fall down the hill.
Right.
So I think a lot of never mind.
Treading
well,
into
I was
muddy
gonna
water.
say, like about living in a place that has a horrible history, which is, I guess, the other half of the Sullivan Island house thing. I was talking about this, like, this is obviously something we talked about before with regard to haunted houses. And I was talking to somebody about, like, living in a place that you knew somebody got murdered or that some other kind of, like, horrible thing happened. And, like, trying to think of it in a way, like, I don't know that I could do this, but it seems like an admirable kind of, like, way to see it, which is, like, you can replace their energy with your energy if you want.
That's
like,
hubris. I don't know. Can you?
But it's all human energy, right? Like, what makes one dude who lived in the 50s and like killed his family a stronger person than you?
I think the theory is that he was possessed by a supernatural energy, like a demonic.
Well, maybe
energy.
I am too. Look, I'm just trying to find a way to buy the haunted house.
Well,
Yeah, I
I
feel
think what we are leading towards is that we want to be put into the haunting type challenge where we have to spend the night in a haunted house. And if we spend the night successfully, we own the house and it's the night call house.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. You guys play so fast and loose sometimes
With
with
the
the satanic
spirits?
stuff. Yeah.
It's not that we're playing fast and loose. I agree with Emily. It's that you can't just be like, I think this in general is that if you just feel like
Let the
everything's
murderers have the
bad-
haunted house.
Right.
Yeah.
If you feel like
Yeah.
let the bad people have America, which they obviously do right now, if you're like, there's nothing we can do about it because it's all so bad, you have to have a little.
It's true. It's true. You have to
Well,
have
this is a
chutzpah.
perfect segue for us to bring up the Night Call Book Club.
Oh, yeah.
Which we are in the middle of right now. We have picked our second book. We announced it at the end of the last book club podcast, but if you haven't joined our Patreon at the $5 level and up, now's the time to do so because we are reading Ghostland, An American History of Haunted Places by Colin Dickey. And it is all about haunted places, haunted houses, haunted cemeteries, haunted parks, everything, and how all America is just haunted, which is what I feel like we talk about all the time here anyway. And that I'm well into it now, and I'm really enjoying it. So we're going to be having a podcast, an exclusive to Patreon subscribers podcast that'll come out on the 15th of July. So if you join before then, you will get in on that. And if you're reading it and you have any thoughts about the book, please leave them on our socials, on our Patreon page, wherever.
Or give us a night call, as always,
Yeah.
at 240-46-NIGHT, or a night email at nightcallpodcast@gmail.com, or you can follow us on social media, Twitter at nightcallpod, Instagram at nightcallpodcast, or Facebook at nightcallpodcast. And as we were saying, join our Patreon. Many things coming. There's going to be a July mix coming out.
And a newsletter.
And a newsletter that will contain the mix. And more book club stuff. And also check out Valley of the Dolls if you haven't yet.
It was a good podcast.
Oh, yeah. It was so fun.
It was really fun.
The most fun.
Yeah.
One other thing is that July we're going to be we're getting ready to send out pins and schedule some super secret meetups for everybody at those pledge levels. So stay tuned for more news about that. Our first secret meetup is going to be in the Los Angeles area. So if you are a $20 and up Patreon supporter, stay tuned to find out when that's going to be. And we hope you can all make it.
Awesome. We will see you soon.
One other bit of housekeeping news. We will be off next week for 4th of July. It is belated because we live 1 week in the past here on Night Call. But we will be back after that with another podcast, so we'll see you all then.
We'll be back with the Midsummer special
Midsummer
Yeah.
special.
for your Midsummers. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.